Now that we're done softening up the line with the one guard, we can move on. What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing you guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a high taper on my boy, so stay tuned. We're gonna be starting off by saturating the hair and combing everything in place, making sure everything's nice and laid down. Now that we're done saturating the hair, we're gonna go ahead and grab our shears and create our first guideline through the top of the capitus and then follow it through the sides. I always like to debulk the top and then fade the sides. It makes it a little bit easier. With cutting with your shears, you always want to use the comb to feed the hair into your fingers and then hold it tight and straight and then cut it with your cutting blade. Also, you always want to keep that same consistent guideline throughout the whole head. Now we're going to bring that same guideline to the sides and begin to debulk. Also, don't be afraid to resaturate the hair, especially when they have a lot of hair or curly hair. The hair likes to dry up. Now that we're done debulking the top, we can move on to the back taper and create our first guideline using our Gold FX. Now that we're done balding out with our Gold FX, we can move on to our foreguard all the way open and debulk the back. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe is greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. Moving on to our clipper over comb method, we're going to go ahead and debulk at a certain angle, and we're also going to use our horizontal cuts. It's always best to do clipper over comb work when the hair is nice and saturated, since it's easier to pick up with the comb. Now that we're done building our silhouette, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. You want to make this guideline around an inch thick so you can spread the blend. Now that we're done setting in that guideline, we're going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and remove that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. We're going to use this same guard and its lever to soften up this line and get ready for the half guard. Now that the line is soft enough with the one guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. Make sure to use your corners and its lever to do so. Now that we're done with our lower guards, we can move on to our two guard all the way open and create our fourth guideline. When you reach the top of this guideline, you want to make sure you flick out. Now that we're done using the 2 guard all the way open, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. Make sure to use your corner and its lever. Sometimes after using your 1.5 guard, there's still a faint line, so switching over to your 1 guard all the way open and using its corners would definitely help. Here we're adding as much detail as possible without taking the taper too high. Moving on to our 3 guard all the way open, we're going to go ahead and begin to debulk and flick out as much as possible, blending into our silhouette. After I'm done blending out my guidelines, I'm going back to the taper and I'm always detailing with my 2 guard all the way open, 1.5 guard all the way open, and my 1 guard all the way open. Heading back to our clipper over comb method, we're going to go ahead and finish off the taper and debulk a little bit. As you guys can see, the taper's coming together and is looking real blurry. Now we're heading to the sides and we're going to continue to debulk and give them that flare shape and that nice taper blowout shape. I'm consistently using my clipper over comb to cut at an angle and making sure that it all blends in nice and neatly. Me debulking the sides here is going to make it easier for me to blend in so it's less overhang. I'm pretty much creating and preparing the silhouette before I start to cut into the taper. Now that we have a consistent base, we can move on to our Gold FX and create our first guideline. We are making a high tempo taper, so we want to make sure we cut near the temple. Now that we're done creating our first guideline, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. We're then going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Moving on to our clipper over comb method, before we use our 1 guard all the way open, we're going to go ahead and debulk and shape it up a little bit. Now we're moving on to our 1 guard all the way open and we're creating our third guideline. This guideline is going to help us connect with our 1.5 guard and our half guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 1 guard, we can move on to our half guard and erase the line completely. Make sure to use your corners and its lever. Also, don't be afraid to stretch the skin with your opposite hand. It is necessary to stretch the skin when fading, especially when you need to spread the blend. Now that we're done with the lower guards, we're moving on to our 2 guard all the way open and we're creating our fourth guideline. We are making sure I'm flicking out as much as possible, and also this is going to prepare us for our 1.5 guard. Before erasing the line completely with my 1.5 guard, I'm going to use my clipper over comb to begin to debulk and also make the fade as smooth as possible into the top. Clipper over comb is the most technical and critical technique with learning how to do these type of haircuts. Without clipper over comb, for the most part, you won't be able to create the shape you want to create. Moving on to the back line, we're going to go ahead and take our gold FX and start off at the bottom, working our way to the top arch. Just like when you're lining up the hairline, you want to make sure you go slow as possible, making sure that the hair feeds into the teeth and trimmer. Moving on to the sideburn, we're going to go ahead and start off with our no guard all the way open, creating our first guideline. We're then going to use our one guard all the way open and our half guard to begin to blend in the sideburn. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe is greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. Moving on to the bottom of the beard, we're going to go ahead and use our gold effects to make it as crispy as possible. I always ask my clients if they want to take down their mustache, and if they do, I always take it down to a one guard all the way open. I feel like that's a very perfect length where it's enough darkness, but it's short enough that it's not long enough that it bothers them. Now that we're done with the facial hair, we're going to go ahead and pin up the hair and begin to line up his hairline. But before we line him up, we're going to go ahead and debulk with the 1.5 guard all the way open, which is equivalent to a 2 guard closed. Now that we're done debulking the hairline going with the grain, we could go ahead and move on to our gold FX and start off in the middle, working our way to the sides. Again, you want to make sure you go slow enough that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair is going to shift and then you won't line them up properly. Now we're going to go ahead and connect this side to the right side. You want to keep the corners and vertical bars as natural as possible. You want to make sure you don't go too deep in and also cut them too short. Now that we're done lining them up, we can move on to our Turkish razor and Derber premium blades and make them as crispy as possible. Before you use your razor, you always want to make sure you apply some shave gel so that the razor could glide better. Also, you want to keep the razor at a 45-degree angle and stretch the skin as much as possible with your opposite hand. This lowers the likelihood of you cutting someone. What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a mid fade with a pushback hairstyle on one of my clients, so stay tuned. We started off by saturating the hair and combing everything in place, making sure we have a nice and neat canvas. We're then gonna separate the top from the sides and make sure everything's nice and neat. Now that we're done pinning the top, we're gonna debulk the sides with the 3-guard all the way open. This is gonna help us debulk our canvas and create our silhouette. As you can see, I'm feeding the hair into the clipper using my comb. Now that we're done debulking the sides, we're gonna move on to our Goat FX and create our first guideline. We're also going to contour this guideline to the head shape so that the fade can flow better. Also, the reason why I debulked before using my trimmers to bald out is so that it doesn't jam my trimmers, because he did come in with a lot of hair. Now that we're done balding out, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. You want to make this guideline around an inch thick so you can spread the blend. Once I'm done setting in that guideline, I'm going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1-guard all the way open and create our third guideline. As you can see in here, since the hair is long, I'm using my comb to feed the hair into the clipper. We're going to use this same guard and its lever to soften up this line and get ready for the half guard. Now that we're done softening up this line with the 1-guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. I'm going back to my previous guards with the 1-guard all the way open, and I'm going to detail as much as possible, especially using the lever. Now that we're done with the lower guards, we're going to move on to our 2-guard all the way open and create our fourth guideline. We're going to use this guard to soften up this line and get ready for the 1.5 guard. Now that we're done using the 2-guard, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. Make sure to use your lever when using this guard. Sometimes after using this guard, there's still a faint line, so switching over to your 1-guard all the way open and using its corners would definitely help take it out. Now we're moving on to our 3-guard all the way open, and we're going to use our comb to feed the hair into the clipper, and we're going to use this to debulk and also complete our silhouette. Now I'm using the 2-guard all the way open, and then after this I'm going to switch over to the 1.5 guard. Now I'm gonna make sure I grab some hair from the top so that it's easier to blend in. Now we're using our clipper over comb method and we're using it horizontally to debulk. We're also gonna make sure we pick up the hair at an angle. Now I'm bringing the hair over that's from the top and I'm gonna blend it into the sides, making sure that there's no overhang that looks unnecessary and unneat. Now we're switching over to our thinning shears to make sure we thin out the overhang. Moving on to the sideburns, we're going to debulk going with the grain with the 1.5 guard all the way open. Now before we line up his C-cups, we're going to detail a little bit more and then line him up and then detail some more after. When I line up my C-cups, I always start off at the bottom and work my way to the top arch using the corners of the blade. I'm also making sure I go slow enough that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair is going to shift and you won't line them up properly. Now we're going to use a little bit of shear work to make sure we cut the top evenly with the sides. When using your shears, you want to stay as consistent as possible with every cut, because if not, then it's going to be very uneven. Here I'm using my no guard all the way open to blend in my sideburns, and I'm also using my lever slightly closed. Now we're moving on to my 1 guard all the way open after using the no guard all the way open. Moving on to our shear work, we're going to start off with our first guideline in the top and then work our way to the sides. As you can see, I'm removing about 1.5 inches of hair because he did come in with a lot. We also want to make sure we cut at certain angles to make sure he gets a certain shape that he's looking for. As you can see here in the back, I'm cutting at a certain angle, and here I'm cutting at a certain angle just to make sure it could blend with the hair. Moving on to the back, we're going to use our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. Once we're done setting in that guideline, we're then going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. Since the hair is a little bit longer, we're going to use our comb to feed the hair into the clipper. Now that we're done softening up this line, we're moving on to the half guard, and we're going to try to erase it completely using its lever and its corners. Now that I'm done with my lower guards, I'm going to move on to my 2 guard all the way open and feed the hair into the clipper using my comb. Using this guard and creating this guideline is going to help us connect into the 1.5 guard. After I was done using my shears a little bit on the sides, I switched over to my clipper of a comb and began to debulk, making everything as smooth as possible. Here I'm using my 3 guard all the way open, and I'm getting ready for that clipper of a comb. When using your clipper of a comb, you want to make sure you cut at an angle, just like you're cutting at an angle with your shears. Moving on to the beard, we're going to debulk it with the 3 guard all the way open, going with the grain, and then line it up through the bottom using our Gold FX. Now that we're done lining up the beard, we can move on to the front line and separate his hair from the top. As you can see, there's a lot of uneven hairs that need to be cut and lined up. So I'm making sure I make an even part, and I'm taking hairs that I do want to cut out. Now that we have a nice enough part, I'm going to switch over to my 1 guard all the way open and debulk the hairline. Now we're going to start off with our Gold FX in the middle and work our way to the sides. Of course, you always want to keep the vertical bars as natural as possible, so I'm making sure I don't go too in. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. As you can see, we're trying to match the other side as much as possible to the first side we lined up to. Man, I feel like it's looking crispy, man. Leave a comment down below if you feel like it's crispy. Now that we're done with the cut, we can move on to our Turkish razor and Durban Premium blades and make them as crispy as possible. You always want to make sure you keep the blade at a 45-degree angle and stretch the skin as much as possible with your opposite hand. This lowers the likelihood of you cutting someone. You also want to pay very high attention to this area.